Rich people live in a world of abundance. Poor people live in a world of limitations. Of course, both live in the same physical world, but the difference is in their perspective. Poor and most middle class people come from scarcity. They live by mottos such as there's only so much to go around, there's never enough, and you can't have everything. And although you may not be able to have everything, as in all the things in the world, I do think you can certainly have everything you really want. Do you want a successful career or a close relationship with your family? Both. Do you want to focus on business or have fun and play? Both. Do you want money or meaning in your life? Both. Do you want to earn a fortune or do the work you love? Both. Poor people always choose one. Rich people choose both. Rich people understand that with a little creativity, you can almost always figure out a way to have the best of the both worlds. From now on, when confronted with an either or alternative, the quintessential question to ask yourself is, how can I have both? This question will change your life. It will take you from a model of scarcity and limitation to a universe of possibilities and abundance. This doesn't just pertain to things you want, it pertains to all areas of life. For example, right now I'm preparing to deal with an unhappy supplier that believes my company should pay for certain expenses they've had that weren't originally agreed to. My feeling is that estimating his costs in his business, not mine. And if he's incurred higher expenses, that's something he has to deal with. I'm more than willing to negotiate a new agreement for next time, but I'm big on keeping agreements that were already made. Now, in my broke days, I'd go into this discussion with the goal of making my point and making sure I don't pay this guy 1 cent more than we agreed upon. And even though I'd like to keep him as a supplier, this would probably end up in a huge argument. I'd go in thinking either he wins or I win. Today, however, because I've trained myself to think in terms of both, I'm going into this discussion completely open to creating a situation where I'm not going to pay him any more money, and he's going to be extremely happy with the arrangements we do make. In other words, my goal is to have both. Here's another example. Several months ago, I decided to purchase a vacation home in Arizona. I scoured the area I was interested in, and every real estate agent told me if I wanted 3 bedrooms plus a den in that vicinity, I'd have to pay over $1 million. My intention was to keep my investment in this home under $1 million. Most people would either lower their expectations or raise their budget. I held out for both. I recently got a call that the owners of a house in the exact location I wanted with the number of rooms I wanted had reduced their price $200,000 to under $1 million. Here is another tribute to the intention of having both. Finally, I always told my parents that I didn't want to slave away at work. I didn't enjoy it and that I would get rich doing what I love. Their response was the usual. You're living in a dream world. Life is not a bowl of cherries, they said. Business is business. Pleasure is pleasure. First you take care of making a living, then if there's any time left over, you can enjoy your life. I remember thinking to myself, if I listen to them, I'll end up like them. No, I'm going to have both. Was it tough? You bet. Sometimes I'd have to work at a job I hated for a week or two so I could eat and play and pay the rent. But I never lost my intention of having both. I never got stuck long-term in a job or business I didn't like. Eventually, I did become rich doing what I loved. Now that I know it can be done, I continue to pursue only the work and projects that I love. Best of all, I now have the privilege of teaching others to do the same. Nowhere is both thinking more important than when it comes to money. Poor and many middle-class people believe that they have to choose between money and the other aspects of life. Consequently, they've rationalized a position that money is not as important as other things. Let's set the record straight. Money is important. To say that it's not as important as any of the other things in life is ludicrous. What's more important, your arm or your leg? Could it be that both are important? Money is a lubricant and enables you to slide through life instead of having to scrape by. Money brings freedom, freedom to buy what you want, and freedom to do what you want with your time. Money allows you to enjoy the finer things in life as well as giving you the opportunity to help others have the necessities in life. Most of all, having money allows you not to have to spend your energy worrying about not having money. Happiness is important too. Again, here's where poor and middle class people get confused. Many believe money and happiness are mutually exclusive, that either you could be rich or you could be happy. Again, this is nothing more than poor programming. People who are rich in every sense of the word understand that you have to have both. Just as you have to have both your arms and your legs, you have to have money and happiness. You can have your cake and eat it too. So here's another major difference between rich people, middle class people, and poor people. Rich people believe you can have your cake and eat it too. Middle class people believe cake is too rich, so I'll only take a little piece. Poor people don't believe they deserve cake, so they order a donut. Focus on the whole and wonder why they have nothing. I ask you, what is the use of having your cake if you can't eat it? What exactly are you supposed to do with it? Put it on your mantle and look at it. Cake is meant to be eaten and enjoyed. Either or thinking also trips up people who believe that if I have more, then someone else will have less. Again, this is nothing more than fear-based, self-defeating programming. The notion that the wealthy people of the world have and are somehow hoarding all the money so there's none left for anyone else is preposterous. First, this belief assumes that there is a limited supply of money. I'm not an economist, but from what I can see, they can just keep printing more of the stuff every day. The actual money supply hasn't been tied to any real asset for decades. So even if the wealthy had all the money today, tomorrow there'd be millions, if not billions, more available. The other thing people with this limited belief don't seem to realize is that the same money can be used over and over to create value for everyone. Let me give you an example I've used in our seminars. I'll ask 5 people to come on stage and bring an item with them. I ask them to stand in a circle. Then I give a $5 bill to the first person and ask them to buy something from person number 2 for that money. Suppose they buy a pen. So now person number 1 has a pen and person number 2 has the $5. Person 2 now uses the same $5 bill to buy, say, a clipboard from person number 3. The number 3 uses the same $5 bill to buy a notebook from the number 4. I hope you get the picture and the point. The exact same $5 was used to bring value to each person that had it. That same $5 went through 5 different people and created $5 worth of value for each and a total of $25 in value for the group. That $5 did not get depleted, and as it circled around, created value for everyone. The lessons are clear. First, money does not get depleted. You can use the same money again and again for years and years and thousands of people. Second, the more money you have, the more you can put into the circle, which means other people then have more money to trade for more value. This is exactly the opposite of either or based thinking. To the contrary, when you have money and use it, you and the person you spend it with both have the value. Put bluntly, if you're so worried about other people and making sure they get their share, as if there is a share, do what it takes to get rich so you could spread more money around. If I could be an example for anything, it would be that you can be a kind, loving, caring, generous, and spiritual person and be really freaking rich. I strongly urge you to dispel the myth that money is in any way bad or that you will be less good or less pure if you are wealthy. That belief is absolute salami. And if you keep eating it, you won't just be fat, you'll be fat and broke. Hey, what do you know? Another example of both. My friends, being kind, generous, and loving has nothing to do with what is or isn't in your wallet. Those attributes come from what is in your heart. Being pure and spiritual have nothing to do with what is or isn't in your bank account. Those attributes come from what's in your soul. To think money makes you good or bad one way or another is either or thinking and just plain programmed garbage. That is not supportive to your happiness and success. It's also not supportive to those around you, especially to children. If you're that adamant about being a good person, then be good enough to not to infect the next generation with the disempowering beliefs you may inadvertently have adopted. If you really want to live a life without limits, whatever the situation, let go of either or thinking and maintain that intention to have both. Place your hand on your heart and say, I always think both. Touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. When it comes to money, People in our society typically ask, how much do you make? Seldom do you hear the question, what is your net worth? Few people talk this way, except of course at the country club. In country clubs, the financial discussion almost always centers around net worth. Jim just sold his stock options. He's worth over $3 million. Paul's company just went public. He's worth $8 million. Sue just sold her business. She's now worth $12 million. At the country club, you're not going to hear, hey, did you hear that Joe got a raise? You're on a 2% cost of living allowance to boot. If you did hear that, you'd know you're listening to a guest for the day. The true measure of wealth is net worth, not working income. Always has been, always will be. Net worth is the financial value of everything you own. To determine your net worth, add up the value of everything you own, including your cash and investments such as stocks, bonds, real estate, the current value of your business, if you own one, the value of your residence if you own it, and then subtract everything you owe. Net worth is the ultimate measure of wealth because, if necessary, what you own can eventually be liquidated into cash. Rich people understand the huge distinction between working income and net worth. Working income is important, but is only one of the four factors that determine your net worth. The four net worth factors are 1. Income, 2. Savings, 3. Investments, 4. Simplification. Rich people understand that building a high net worth is an equation that contains all four elements. Because all of these factors are essential, let's examine each one. Income comes in two forms, working income and passive income. Working income is the money earned from active work. This includes a paycheck from a day-to-day job, or for an entrepreneur, the profits or income taken from a business. Working income requires that you are investing your own time and labor to earn money. Working income is important because without it, it is almost impossible to address the other three net worth factors. Working income is how we fill up our financial funnel, so to speak. All things being equal, the more working income you earn, the more you can save and invest. Although working income is critical, again, it is only valuable as a part of the entire net worth equation. Unfortunately, poor and many middle-class people focus exclusively on working income. Of the four factors, consequently, they end up with a low or no net worth. Passive income is money earned without you actively working. We will discuss passive income in greater detail a little later, but for now, consider it another stream of income filling up the funnel, which can then be used for spending, saving, and investing. Savings is also imperative. You can earn wads of money, but if you don't keep any of it, you will never create wealth. Many people have a financial blueprint that is wired for spending. Whatever money they have, they spend. They choose immediate gratification over long-term balance. Spenders have three mottos. Their first motto is, it's only money, therefore money is something they don't have much of. Their second motto is, what goes around comes around. At least they hope so, because their third motto is, sorry I can't right now, I'm broke. Without creating income to fill the funnel and savings to keep it there, it is impossible to address the next net worth factor. Once you've begun saving a decent portion of your income, then you can move to the next stage and make your money grow through investing. Generally, the better you are at investing, the faster your money will grow and generate a greater net worth. Rich people take the time and energy to learn about investing and investments. They pride themselves on being excellent investors, or at least hiring excellent investors to invest for them. Poor people think investing is only for rich people, so they never learn about it and stay broke. Again, every part of the equation is important. Our fourth net worth factor may well be the dark horse of the bunch. Because few people recognize its importance in creating wealth, this is the factor of simplification. It goes hand in hand with saving money, whereby you consciously create a lifestyle in which you need less money to live on. By decreasing your cost of living, you increase your savings and the amount of funds available for investing. To illustrate the power of simplification, here's a story of one of our Millionaire Mind participants. When Sue was only 23, she made a wise choice. She purchased a home. She paid just under $300,000 at the time. 7 years later, in a sizzling hot market, Sue sold her home for over $600,000, meaning she profited over $300,000. She considered buying a new home, but after attending the Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar, She recognized that if she invested her money in a secure second mortgage at 10% interest and simplified her lifestyle, she could actually be quite comfortable living on the earnings from her investments and not have to work ever again. Instead of purchasing a new home, she moved in with her sister. Now at 30 years of age, Sue is financially free. She won her independence not through earning a ton of money, but by consciously scaling back her personal overhead. Yes, she still works because she enjoys it, but she doesn't have to. In fact, she only works 6 months of the year. The rest of the time she spends in Fiji. First, because she loves it, and second, she says her money goes even further there. Because she lives with the locals rather than the tourists, she doesn't spend a lot. How many people do you know who would love to spend 6 months of each year living on a tropical island, never having to work again at the ripe old age of 30? How about 40, 50, 60, ever? It's all because Sue created a simple lifestyle and consequently doesn't need a fortune to live on. So what will it take for you to be happy financially? If you need to live in a mansion, have 3 vacation homes, own 10 cars, take annual trips around the world, eat caviar and drink the finest champagne to enjoy your life, that's fine, but recognize you've set your bar pretty darn high, and it may take you a long, long time to get to a point where you're happy. On the other hand, if you don't need all the toys to be happy, you'll probably reach your financial goal a lot sooner. Again, building your net worth is a 4-part equation. As an analogy, imagine driving a bus with 4 wheels. What would the ride be like if you were driving on 1 wheel only? Probably slow, bumpy, full of struggle, sparks, and going in circles. Does that sound familiar? Rich people play the money game on all 4 wheels. That's why their ride is fast, smooth, direct, and relatively easy. By the way, I use the analogy of a bus because once you are successful, your goal might be to bring others along on the ride with you. Poor and most middle-class people play the money game on 1 wheel only. They believe that the only way to get rich is to earn a lot of money. They believe that only because they've never been there, they don't understand Parkinson's law, which states expenses will always rise in direct proportion to income. Here's what's normal in our society. You have a car, you make more money, and you get a better car. You have a house, you make more money, and you get a better house. You have clothes, you make more money, and you get nicer clothes. You have holidays, you make more money, and you spend more on holidays. Of course, there are a few exceptions to this rule, very few. In general, as income goes up, expenses almost invariably go up too. That's why income alone will never create wealth. This book is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Does millionaire refer to income or net worth? Net worth. Therefore, if your intention is to be a millionaire or more, you must focus on building your net worth, which, as we've discussed, is based on much more than just your income. Make it a policy to know your net worth to the penny. Here's an exercise that can change your financial life forever. Take a blank sheet of paper and title it Net Worth.